Things were changing for the railroad. More and more diesels were arriving, seemingly by the day. All of the big expresses had been given to them, and they were even starting to take freight trains. The only passenger trains they hadn't taken yet were the small and slow locals. Joseph was pulling a local. He had only 2 coaches behind him, and neither of them were full. "There's less and less passengers for us every day," his engineer remarked. "They only ride on the streamliners now." Joseph was worried. If no one rode on his train, it would be canceled, and if there were no trains for him, he would have to be retired, which meant he would stop working forever. I'm very sorry to say that a few mornings later, the yardmaster brought him bad news. "Your local isn't making enough money," he said, "and without other jobs for you, I'm afraid you'll have to be retired." Joseph was very sad indeed. What will become of me, he wondered. The days passed, and soon turned into weeks. Joseph was alone, except for a few times when his crew came to visit him. One day, Sarah came to see him too. This cheered him up just a little bit. "How are things elsewhere?" he asked. But now Sarah looked worried. "It's getting very difficult for steam engines to find work. Many of us are afraid we'll be retired soon." "Oh," Joseph shed a tear. "Diesels really are taking over, aren't they?" Sarah wanted to say no, but she and Joseph both knew it was true. So instead, she said, "It will be all right, as long as we have each other." They talked for a long while, until the yardmaster came up. "Sarah," he said, "it's time for your next train." "Yes, sir," she replied, but she didn't want to leave Joseph. "I'll be fine. Go on. You can come back later. I'll be here." Sarah smiled and began backing away. When she was sure Joseph couldn't hear her, she said quietly, "I hope so." But it was many days before Sarah would return, and in the meantime some workers came to the roundhouse. They came up to Joseph and looked at his number. 7039. "Yes, this one goes too." "Goes where?" Joseph asked. The workman looked downcast. "To the sidings, I'm afraid. To be scrapped." Joseph's heart broke. He was so sad and afraid, he hardly noticed a diesel come to take him away. "It's a real shame," the workman said as Joseph was parked on an empty track. "Such a faithful machine. Truly you deserve better." But Joseph wasn't listening. He was beginning to cry. The workmen said they would return the next day. Then they left Joseph on the cold, lonely siding. Joseph found that all he could think about was Sarah. As the sun set, he heard voices approaching. The yardmaster and another man approached him. "Here he is," said the yardmaster. "He's the only one I've got here." "He's an express engine, isn't he?" "Yes. Not one of the newer ones, though." "No." The man walked around Joseph, inspecting him closely. "What's happening?" "This man is from another railroad, far away. He wants to save steam engines from scrap." "Is he going to save me?" "That's just what he's deciding now." The man hopped out of Joseph's cab and smiled. "Yes, I think he'll do nicely. I say, do you want to come work on my railway? It's small, but I dare say you'll have all you could want there. And there'd certainly be no threat of scrapping, let me tell you." Joseph thought hard. He didn't want to be scrapped. No engine did. But would he ever see Sarah again? "I'll go with you," he said, "if you tell Sarah what's happened." "Of course." They turned and walked to the station office, promising they'd be back tomorrow. Joseph hoped they would return before the scrappers did. He waited all night. The sun rose, and he still waited. As it passed noontime, Joseph was getting worried again. "What if they forgot me?" he worried. "Or what if they don't come back in time?" His fears became real as the workmen arrived, hauling torches with them. "Right then, we're very sorry, but it must be done." They lit the torches, and Joseph closed his eyes. But then, a whistle distracted the workers. Joseph opened his eyes and to his amazement saw Sarah puffing towards him. In her cab was the man who had bought him. "I say, that engine isn't for scrapping." Sarah hissed steam. The workmen jumped and turned off their torches. "Not to fear, old boy, we're here," said the man, jumping down excitedly. "Oh, Joseph," Sarah said worriedly, "I'm so glad you're all right. The yardmaster called my crew and told them what was going on, and then they told me, and I said I'd come to say goodbye, but I was so worried I wouldn't make it." "But I'm glad you did." "I have a special train waiting to take you along," the man said. "Sarah has kindly volunteered to take you that far." "It's the least I could do." Joseph smiled. He couldn't think of anything better. Sarah coupled up, and together they left the siding behind. It was a smooth ride to their destination, and they enjoyed every moment of it. When they arrived, Joseph was added onto the special train, and the man thanked Sarah for her help. The two engines said their goodbyes, making sure to say how much they meant to one another. Then the train started off, and Sarah watched her friend fade into the distance. She gave one last whistle, even though she knew Joseph couldn't return it. Someone forgot to write down that Joseph was saved, instead listing him as scrapped. But Sarah knew the truth, and for every day after that, she pictured Joseph safe and happy. And that, in turn, made her very, very happy.